What if I told you that right now, somewhere in a quiet suburban neighborhood, there's a family eating dinner, laughing, watching TV, completely unaware that just 20 feet below their kitchen floor, sealed inside an old chest freezer in their basement, lies the body of a 17-year-old girl who's been missing for 3 years? What if I told you that one person in that house knows exactly what's down there and has known all along? And what if I told you that person is her best friend? This is the story of Sarah Chen and Maya Rodriguez, two girls who shared everything: secrets, dreams, and eventually a grave. Tonight's story is titled The Girl in the Freezer and the Friend Who Knew the Truth. But before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, if you're wearing headphones, perfect. If not, you might want to put some on. Or you can lower the volume now, just enough so my voice blends gently with the stillness of your room. Close your eyes. Let your shoulders sink just a bit more into your pillow. You don't have to do anything. Just listen. The perfect friendship. Before we get into the darkness, let me paint you a picture of what perfect friendship looks like. Sarah Chen, 16 years old, honor roll student, violin prodigy, the kind of girl who color coordinated her textbooks and had her entire senior year planned out by sophomore spring. Maya Rodriguez, also 16, Sarah's complete opposite. Wild curly hair she never bothered to tame, paint-stained fingers from her art classes, the kind of girl who decided what to do 5 minutes before doing it. They met in middle school art class. Sarah was struggling with a watercolor assignment. Turns out being perfect at everything doesn't automatically make you good at art. Maya noticed. She slid over, didn't say a word, just started showing Sarah how to blend colors properly. That was Maya. She fixed things. She fixed people. And Sarah was grateful. So grateful that when Maya's family went through a nasty divorce that year, Sarah convinced her parents to let Maya stay with them. Just temporarily, they said, until things settle down. That was 4 years ago. Maya never left. She became part of the Chen family. Had her own room, her own drawer in the kitchen. Mrs. Chen packed her lunch every morning alongside Sarah's. Mr. Chen helped her with her college applications just like he did for Sarah. From the outside, it looked perfect. Two sisters who chose each other. But here's what nobody knew, what nobody could have known, because it happened behind closed doors, in whispered conversations, in moments when everyone else was asleep. Sarah was suffocating. See, when you're used to being the only child, having someone who never leaves can feel less like a blessing and more like surveillance. Maya had opinions about Sarah's clothes, her friends, her boyfriend, her college choices. She'd gotten comfortable, maybe too comfortable, but Sarah never said anything. Because how do you tell someone who's been through hell that they're making your life hell? How do you tell someone your parents love as much as they love you that you want them gone? You don't. You smile. You share your room. You share your life. And you start planning your escape. The crack in the facade. Spring of their junior year. College application season was approaching, and Sarah had it all figured out. Stanford University, 3,000 miles away. She'd already been taking SAT prep courses, joining extra clubs, building the perfect application. She was going to get out. Maya found the acceptance letter first. Sarah had been so careful. She'd had her mail redirected to a P.O. box. She'd used her friend Jessica's address for some applications. But Stanford, they'd sent an additional letter to her home address. Maya was sorting through the mail, something she did every day, like she lived there, because she basically did, when she saw it. Congratulations, Sarah. We are pleased to inform you. Maya read that letter sitting on Sarah's bed. She read it 3 times. Then she folded it carefully and put it in her backpack. When Sarah got home from violin practice that evening, Maya was waiting. Maya, so, Stanford, huh? Sarah's blood went cold. Not because she was caught, but because of the way Maya said it. Like she was disappointed. Like Sarah had betrayed her. Sarah, I was going to tell you. Maya, when? After you left. Sarah, Maya, it's not like that. Maya, voice rising. Then what is it like, Sarah? Because from where I'm standing, It looks like you've been planning to abandon me, just like everyone else." That last line hit exactly where Maya intended it to. Sarah's guilt complex, her need to fix things, to be the good person. But for the first time in 4 years, Sarah didn't back down. "Sarah, this is my life, Maya, my future. You can't just decide where I go to college." "Maya, I'm not deciding anything. I'm just saying it's interesting that your future doesn't seem to include me." They didn't speak for 3 days. 3 days of awkward silences at the dinner table. 3 days of Maya sleeping on the couch instead of in Sarah's room. 3 days of Mr. and Mrs. Chen asking what was wrong and getting shrugs in response. On the 4th day, Maya apologized. She knocked on Sarah's door at midnight, holding 2 cups of hot chocolate, their old tradition from middle school. "Maya, I'm sorry. I was scared. You're the only family I have left, and the thought of losing you, I freaked out." And Sarah, because she was Sarah, forgave her immediately. They stayed up until 3 a.m. talking about college, about the future, about how they'd stay in touch no matter what. Maya even helped Sarah research dorms at Stanford. She seemed genuinely excited for her. But here's the thing about desperate people, and Maya Rodriguez was desperate, though she hid it well. They don't give up that easily. They just get better at hiding their plans. The summer everything changed. Summer before senior year. This was it. Sarah's last summer at home before college applications, before freedom, before her real life could begin. She got a job at the local library. Maya was working at an art supply store downtown. For the first time in years, they had separate lives during the day. Sarah loved it. She made friends with her co-workers. She started dating Tom, a guy from her AP history class. She even convinced her parents to let her take a weekend trip with Jessica's family to visit some colleges. For the first time since Maya moved in, Sarah felt like herself, like she could breathe. Maya noticed. It started small. Maya would ask detailed questions about Sarah's day. Where exactly did she go for lunch? Who was she talking to in the parking lot? Why did she get home 15 minutes later than usual? Just curious, she'd say with a smile. "I like hearing about your adventures." But it felt like interrogation. Then Maya started showing up at the library during Sarah's shifts. "I was just in the neighborhood," she'd explain, but the library was 20 minutes from the art store, and Maya didn't have a car. She'd hang around for hours, chatting with Sarah's co-workers, inserting herself into every conversation, every inside joke, every friendship that Sarah was trying to build. The weekend college trip was the breaking point. Sarah had been looking forward to it for weeks. 3 days in Boston with Jessica's family, touring Harvard and MIT, feeling like a normal teenager for once. The night before she was supposed to leave, Maya got sick. Not just sick, violently ill. Food poisoning, she claimed. She was throwing up, running a fever, completely incapacitated. "Maya, I can't be alone. Sarah, what if something happens? What if I need to go to the hospital?" Mr. and Mrs. Chen were at a work conference that weekend. There would be no one else in the house. Sarah stared at her packed suitcase, at the college brochures on her desk, at Maya, pale and shivering in the bed next to hers. She unpacked. Jessica's family went to Boston without her. Sarah spent the weekend bringing Maya soup, checking her temperature, and trying not to resent every single second of it. The strange thing? Maya was completely fine by Monday morning. Bright-eyed, energetic, asking Sarah all about the weekend she'd missed, even though Sarah had spent it right there next to her. That's when Sarah started to understand something that would chill her to the bone. Maya wasn't just afraid of being abandoned. Maya was willing to do anything to prevent it. The plan: August, 3 weeks before senior year started. Sarah was filling out her final college applications when she made a discovery that changed everything. She was looking for her social security card, needed it for financial aid forms, when she decided to check Maya's room. Maya had been acting strange lately, more possessive than usual, and Sarah had a horrible suspicion. She found it in Maya's art supplies box, underneath tubes of paint and charcoal pencils. Not just her social security card, her birth certificate, her passport, even her acceptance letter from Stanford. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what else was in that box. College rejection letters, addressed to Sarah, from schools Sarah had never heard of, schools she'd never applied to, and applications, dozens of them. all filled out in Sarah's name, but not by Sarah. Maya had been applying to colleges as Sarah. She'd been intercepting mail, forging signatures, even calling schools to withdraw applications that Sarah had actually sent. The Stanford acceptance letter, Maya had called them pretending to be Sarah and deferred enrollment. For a year, Sarah sat on Maya's bedroom floor, surrounded by evidence of the most comprehensive betrayal she could imagine, and realized something terrifying. Maya wasn't planning to let her leave. Ever. Her phone buzzed. A text from Maya, who was supposed to be at work. "Hey, can you grab some groceries? Making your favorite dinner tonight. We need to talk about something important." Sarah's hands were shaking as she stuffed everything back into the box. She had to think. She had to plan. She had to. Maya, from downstairs. "Sarah, you home? I left work early." Sarah barely got everything back in place before Maya appeared in the doorway, smiling that same sweet smile she'd been giving Sarah for 4 years. The smile that Sarah now realized had never been sweet at all. It had been calculating. The confrontation. That night at dinner, Maya was unusually chatty. She talked about their senior year, about prom, about how exciting it was that they'd both be going to State University together. State University, where Maya had apparently accepted enrollment on Sarah's behalf. Sarah, Maya, I never applied to State. Maya, still smiling, "Oh, I helped you with that application back in March. Remember, you were so stressed about Stanford, I thought you should have a backup plan." Sarah, "I don't remember." Maya, "You signed everything. We even went to the bank together to get a cashier's check for the application fee." Sarah remembered that bank trip. Maya had asked her to come along while she deposited her paycheck. She'd asked Sarah to sign something, "Just a form for my savings account," she'd said. The manipulation was so complete, so carefully planned, that Sarah felt sick. Sarah, voice shaking, "What about Stanford?" Maya, "Oh, that didn't work out. They sent a rejection letter last week. I'm sorry, I should have told you, but you seemed so stressed." Sarah, "Show me the letter." Maya, "Sarah, sit down. Let's talk about this." Sarah, "Show me the fucking letter." Maya. Maya's mask slipped, just for a second, just long enough for Sarah to see something cold and predatory underneath. Maya, different voice, harder. "I threw it away. There's no point dwelling on disappointment." Sarah, "You're lying." Maya, "Why would I lie about something like that?" Sarah, "Because you've been lying about everything. The college applications, the mail, the..." Maya, standing now too. Sarah, "You're being paranoid." Sarah, "I found the box." Maya. Maya's face went completely blank. Not surprised. Not guilty. Just empty. Maya, "What box?" Sarah, "You know what box." Maya, still quiet. Sarah, "You went through my things." Sarah, "My things. Those were my documents, my letters, my..." Maya, voice rising. "Your things? I've been taking care of you for 4 years. I've been protecting you, planning for us, making sure we stay together. And you're worried about privacy." Sarah, "Protecting me? You've been sabotaging my life." Maya, screaming now, "I've been saving your life. Do you have any idea what happens to girls like you when they go off to college alone? Do you know what the world is like out there?" Sarah stared at her best friend. This girl she'd shared everything with. This girl her parents loved like a daughter, and realized she was looking at a stranger. Sarah, "I'm calling Stanford in the morning. I'm fixing this." Maya, "No, you're not." Sarah, "Maya, I'm leaving. For college, for my life, for everything. And you can't stop me." Maya, "Yes, I can. The last night, that night, Sarah didn't sleep. She lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to Maya breathe in the bed next to hers. Normal breathing, steady, like Maya was sleeping peacefully. But Sarah knew she wasn't sleeping. The breathing was too controlled, too even. Maya was awake too, planning something. At 3 a.m., Sarah heard Maya get up. Quiet footsteps across the room, down the hall, down the stairs. Sarah waited 10 minutes, then followed. Maya was in the basement. Sarah crept to the top of the basement stairs and listened. She could hear Maya moving around down there. but she couldn't tell what she was doing. There was a scraping sound, like something heavy being dragged across the floor. Then silence. Sarah barely made it back to her room before Maya returned. She pretended to be asleep as Maya slipped back into bed. But now Maya's breathing was different. Faster, excited, like she'd just finished preparing for something. The next morning, Maya was back to her normal self. Sweet, attentive, making pancakes for breakfast like nothing had happened. But when Sarah went to get her phone to call Stanford, it was gone. Maya, oh, you left it downstairs last night. I put it in the kitchen drawer for safekeeping. The kitchen drawer was locked. Sarah had never even known it had a lock. Maya, I think Mom has the key at work. We can get it tonight when she gets home. That afternoon, Maya suggested they hang out in the basement. It's so hot upstairs, she said. It'll be cooler down there. Sarah had never known Maya to willingly spend time in basements. She hated them. Always had. Sarah, I'm okay up here. Maya, come on. I want to show you something. I've been working on a surprise. Sarah, what kind of surprise? Maya, you'll see. Sarah followed Maya down to the basement, every instinct screaming at her to run. The basement looked normal. Boxes of holiday decorations, old furniture, the water heater humming in the corner, and in the far corner, an old chest freezer that had been there for years but never plugged in. Now it was plugged in, running. Maya, I thought we could clean this out, use it for storing frozen meals for college. You know, for when we're at state together, living in the dorms. Sarah, Maya, what's in the freezer? Maya, nothing yet. That's why we need to clean it out. Sarah, then why is it running? Maya, I wanted to make sure it still worked. Sarah walked over to the freezer, put her hand on the lid. Maya, don't open it. Sarah, why not? Maya, I put some cleaning chemicals in there to get rid of the old smell. It's not safe to breathe. Sarah looked at Maya, really looked at her, at the girl who'd been sabotaging her life for months, at the girl who'd dragged something heavy across this basement floor at 3 a.m., at the girl who was now standing between Sarah and the basement stairs. Sarah, Maya, what did you do? Maya, no longer pretending, what I had to do. The truth. What happened next depends on who's telling the story. According to Maya Rodriguez, speaking to police 3 days later, Sarah Chen had a breakdown. She became violent, erratic, dangerous. Maya had no choice but to defend herself. According to Maya, Sarah fell down the basement stairs during their struggle, hit her head, died instantly. According to Maya, she panicked. She was 17, scared, didn't know what to do. So she hid the body in the old freezer until she could figure out how to handle the situation. Maya, to police, crying, I know I should have called 911 right away. But Sarah was my best friend, my sister. I couldn't let her family see her like that. I thought maybe I could. I don't know what I thought. I wasn't thinking clearly. Maya's story was compelling, tragic. She was just a traumatized teenager who'd made a terrible mistake in a moment of panic. The Chen family believed her. They comforted her. They held her while she cried at Sarah's funeral. The police believed her too. Mostly. There were some inconsistencies. Why hadn't she called for help? Why was Sarah's phone locked away? Why were all of Sarah's college documents in Maya's possession? But Maya had answers for everything. Sarah had been paranoid lately, convinced someone was sabotaging her college applications. She'd given Maya her documents for safekeeping. She'd been having anxiety attacks, hiding her phone so she wouldn't obsessively check her email. Maya pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter and tampering with evidence. She got 7 years in a juvenile facility with the possibility of parole in 5. The judge called it a tragedy. 2 young lives destroyed in a moment of panic. Sarah's parents visited Maya in jail. They told her they forgave her. They told her Sarah would have forgiven her too. Case closed. Except, 3 months after Maya's conviction, someone came forward. Jessica Martinez, Sarah's friend from the college trip that never happened. Jessica had been carrying a secret that was eating her alive. Jessica, phone call to police. I need to tell you something about Sarah Chen. About the night she died. I think I was the last person she talked to. The call. As Jessica, August 15th, 11:47 p.m. Jessica was getting ready for bed when her phone rang. Sarah's number, but it wasn't Sarah's usual time to call, and when Jessica answered, Sarah's voice was different. Urgent. Scared. Sarah. Jess, I need help. Something's wrong with Maya. Jessica, what do you mean wrong? Sarah, she's been... Good. This sounds crazy, but she's been sabotaging my college applications. She has all my documents hidden in her room. She's been forging my signature, calling schools. Jessica, Sarah, that doesn't make sense. Why would she? Sarah, because she doesn't want me to leave. She wants us to go to the same college, live together, stay together forever. Jess, I think she's sick. Like, mentally sick. Jessica, where are you right now? Sarah, home. My parents are at that conference this weekend. Remember? It's just me and Maya, and she's been acting so weird. She made this big dinner tonight, kept talking about our future together, and when I confronted her about the college stuff, she smiled. Like she was happy I found out. Jessica, Sarah, if you're scared, you should call the police. Sarah, and tell them what? That my best friend is too attached to me? That she helped me with college applications? How do I prove any of this? Sarah, Jess, I think she did something to the basement. Jessica, what? Sarah, last night, I heard her go downstairs at like 3 a.m. She was moving something around, and today she kept trying to get me to go down there with her. She said she wanted to show me a surprise. Jessica, Sarah, you're scaring me. Sarah, I'm scaring myself. Listen, I'm going to try to get some evidence. Photos of the documents she stole, maybe recording her admitting what she did. If anything happens to me. Jessica, Sarah, Sarah. Jessica tried calling back immediately. The phone went straight to voicemail. She tried again at midnight. Voicemail. She tried again at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Nothing. Jessica didn't sleep that night. She kept thinking about Sarah's voice, about how scared she sounded, about that line that kept echoing in her head. If anything happens to me. The next morning, Jessica called the Chen house. Maya answered. Maya? Oh, hi, Jessica. Sarah's not here right now. She went for a run. Jessica, at 7 a.m. Maya, you know Sarah, always up early. I'll tell her you called. Jessica called back that afternoon. Maya answered again. Maya, she's at the library. Job interview for a different position. Jessica called the library. Sarah hadn't been in for her shift. They'd been trying to reach her all day. That evening, Jessica called again. Maya, Jessica, Sarah's really busy right now. She's dealing with some college stuff. She'll call you when she can. Jessica, Maya, I need to talk to her. It's important. Maya, about what? Jessica, just friend stuff. Can you have her call me? Maya, of course. I'll give her the message. Sarah never called back. 3 days later, Maya called 911 to report that she'd found Sarah's body in the basement. The real story. Back to Jessica's police statement. Jessica told the police everything. The phone call, Sarah's fears, Maya's strange behavior afterward. But it had been 3 months. Maya was already convicted. The case was closed. The detective Jessica spoke to was sympathetic but clear. Without hard evidence, there was nothing they could do. It was all hearsay. And Maya had already confessed to the basic facts. Sarah was dead. Maya had hidden the body. Whether it was an accident or murder, Maya was already in prison. Detective, I'm sorry, Miss Martinez. I know this is hard to hear. But unless we find some concrete evidence that contradicts Maya's story, there's nothing more we can do. Jessica, but what about Sarah's phone? The call logs would show she called me that night. Detective, Maya turned over Sarah's phone when she confessed. But it had been damaged, water damage. She said Sarah had dropped it in the sink. The data was unrecoverable. Jessica left that police station feeling helpless. She'd failed her friend twice, once when she didn't take that phone call seriously enough, and again when she couldn't get anyone to listen to the truth. But Jessica was studying criminal justice. She understood evidence. She understood investigation. And she understood that Maya Rodriguez was smarter than everyone gave her credit for. Jessica started digging. She requested copies of all the police reports. She interviewed Sarah's other friends, her co-workers, her teachers. She built a timeline of Sarah's last few weeks. What she found was a pattern of manipulation so subtle and sophisticated that it was almost artistic. Maya hadn't just sabotaged Sarah's college applications. She'd been systematically isolating her for months. She'd spread rumors about Sarah's boyfriend Tom. Subtle stuff, just enough to create doubt and drama until they broke up. She'd started arguments between Sarah and her other friends, playing both sides, creating conflicts that left Sarah feeling like Maya was the only person she could trust. She'd even been monitoring Sarah's social media, her email, her text messages. Sarah's phone had spyware on it, installed. According to the digital forensics expert Jessica consulted privately at least 6 months before Sarah's death. But the most damning evidence Jessica found wasn't digital. It was financial. Bank statements. Maya had been stealing from Sarah for over a year. Small amounts at first, $20 here, $50 there, money from Sarah's library job, birthday money from relatives, even coins from the jar Sarah kept on her dresser. Maya had been saving it all in a secret account. By the time Sarah died, Maya had stolen over $3,000. Money that Maya had used to pay for those fake college applications. Money she'd used to rent the P.O. box where she'd been intercepting Sarah's mail. Money she'd been planning to use for their life together at State University. Jessica realized she was looking at something much worse than a crime of passion or a tragic accident. This was premeditated, planned. Maya had been systematically destroying Sarah's life and freedom for months, maybe years. And when Sarah finally fought back, when she finally tried to escape, Maya killed her. Justice. Jessica took her evidence to 3 different law firms before she found one willing to listen. Attorney David Park specialized in wrongful conviction cases. He reviewed Jessica's research and came to the same conclusion she had. Maya Rodriguez was serving time for involuntary manslaughter when she should have been convicted of first-degree murder. David Park. The problem is, Maya's already been sentenced. Double jeopardy means we can't try her again for the same crime, even if we have new evidence. Jessica, so she gets away with it. David Park, not necessarily. If we can prove prosecutorial misconduct, that evidence was withheld or ignored during the original investigation, we might be able to reopen the case. Park filed a motion for post-conviction relief, arguing that Maya's original defense team had suppressed evidence and that the prosecution had failed to thoroughly investigate the case. The motion included Jessica's research, expert testimony about the spyware on Sarah's phone, and financial records showing Maya's systematic theft and deception. It took 8 months, but finally, a judge agreed to review the case. The hearing lasted 3 days. Maya, now 19 and serving her sentence at a women's correctional facility, was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit instead of the flowery dress she'd worn to her original sentencing. She looked different, harder. The sweet, vulnerable teenager persona had vanished completely. Judge, after reviewing the evidence presented, this court finds that there are substantial questions about the defendant's original conviction. The evidence suggests a pattern of premeditation and manipulation that was not properly investigated during the original proceedings. Judge, Maya Rodriguez, your conviction for involuntary manslaughter is hereby vacated. You will be retried on charges of first-degree murder. Maya's expression didn't change. She didn't cry, didn't protest, didn't show any emotion at all. She just stared straight ahead, like she was calculating her next move. Because that's what Maya Rodriguez did. She calculated, she planned, she manipulated. But this time, she'd run out of people to fool. The second trial. Maya's second trial began 18 months after Sarah's death. This time, the prosecution was ready. They presented evidence of Maya's financial crimes, her systematic isolation of Sarah, the spyware on Sarah's phone. They brought in Jessica to testify about Sarah's final phone call. Prosecutor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this was not a tragic accident. This was not a crime of passion. This was a calculated, premeditated murder committed by someone who had been planning to trap and control Sarah Chen for years. Prosecutor, when Sarah finally tried to escape, Maya Rodriguez killed her, and then she lied about it. She manipulated a grieving family. She manipulated the police. She manipulated all of us. Because that's what Maya Rodriguez does. She manipulates people to get what she wants. Maya's defense team tried the same strategy that had worked before. She was young, traumatized, had made a terrible mistake in a moment of panic. But this time, the jury heard the whole story. They deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, Maya Rodriguez was convicted of first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, fraud, and theft. The judge sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Judge, Maya Rodriguez, you have shown a complete disregard for human life and dignity. You systematically destroyed Sarah Chen's autonomy, her future, and ultimately her life. This court finds no mitigating circumstances that would justify a lesser sentence. As the bailiff led Maya away in handcuffs, she turned back to look at the courtroom one last time. Her eyes found Sarah's parents, sitting in the front row, Mr. and Mrs. Chen, who had visited her in jail, who had told her they forgave her, who had genuinely loved her like a daughter. Maya smiled at them, not the sweet, manipulative smile she perfected over the years. A different smile. Cold, satisfied, like she'd won something. The aftermath. The Chen family never recovered. Not really. Mr. Chen quit his job 6 months after the second trial. He couldn't concentrate, couldn't function in the corporate world when his daughter's killer had been living under his roof, eating at his table, calling him dad for 4 years. Mrs. Chen started seeing a therapist, then 2 therapists, then a psychiatrist. She was diagnosed with severe PTSD and depression. She couldn't sleep in her own house anymore. Too many memories of Maya padding around in the middle of the night, of family dinners where Maya sat in Sarah's chair, of the basement where their daughter had died. They sold the house within a year, moved across the country to Oregon, where Mrs. Chen's sister lived. Started over, or tried to. But how do you start over when you realize you welcomed your daughter's killer into your family? How do you trust your own judgment ever again? Mrs. Chen, in therapy session, I keep thinking about all the signs I missed. The way Maya never wanted Sarah to make other friends. How she always had a reason why Sarah couldn't go on trips or dates. How she knew exactly what to say to make us feel sorry for her. Therapist, you were being kind to a child who needed help. Mrs. Chen, we were being stupid, and our daughter died because of it. The Chens weren't the only ones struggling with guilt. Jessica Martinez, the friend who'd tried to save Sarah, who'd fought for justice, carried her own burden. She'd been the last person to hear Sarah's voice. She'd known Sarah was in danger, and she'd gone to sleep instead of driving over to check on her friend. Jessica, in interview, I replay that phone call every day. Sarah was scared. She was asking for help, and I thought it could wait until morning. I thought, oh, Sarah's being dramatic again. I didn't take it seriously enough. Interviewer, you were 17. You had no way of knowing. Jessica, I should have known. I should have done something. Jessica changed her major from criminal justice to psychology. She wanted to understand how people like Maya worked, how they manipulated others, how to spot the signs earlier. She graduated with honors and now works as a victim advocate, helping people who've been manipulated and abused by those closest to them. She says Sarah's story drives everything she does. Maya's prison letters. Maya Rodriguez has been in prison for 3 years now. She's been a model inmate, polite to the guards, helpful to other prisoners. She's earned her GED, started taking college courses, volunteers in the prison library. Everyone loves Maya. She's also been writing letters, lots of letters, to true crime bloggers, to journalists, to documentary filmmakers, to anyone who will listen to her side of the story. Maya, letter being read. Dear Ms. Patterson, I read your article about wrongful convictions and wanted to share my story. I'm serving life in prison for a crime I didn't commit. Yes, I hid my friend's body, and I will regret that decision for the rest of my life. But I did not murder Sarah Chen. Maya, continuing letter, Sarah was my sister in every way that mattered. I loved her more than anyone in the world. The prosecution painted me as some kind of monster, but they had to ignore the real evidence to do it. There were no witnesses to what happened that night. No video, no DNA evidence, nothing but speculation and character assassination. Letter continues. Maya, the so-called evidence against me has been completely misrepresented. Yes, I helped Sarah with her college applications. She was overwhelmed and asked for my help. Yes, I had access to her phone, We shared everything, like sisters do. The prosecution took normal teenage behavior and twisted it into something sinister. Maya's letters are compelling. They are well-written, logical, and they raise questions about the evidence. Several journalists have reached out to her, interested in her story. But there's something else in those letters. Something that becomes clear when you read them all together. Maya still doesn't think she did anything wrong. Maya, another letter. I saved Sarah from making a terrible mistake. Stanford was 3,000 miles away from her family, from everyone who loved her. She would have been miserable. She would have failed. I was protecting her from herself. Maya, everything I did out of love. Real love, not the fake, conditional love that most people call friendship. I would have done anything for Sarah. I would have sacrificed everything for her happiness. Maya, and if she had just trusted me, if she had just accepted that we were meant to be together, she would still be alive today. That's the thing about Maya Rodriguez. Even now, even in prison, even after being convicted of first-degree murder, she still believes she was the victim. She still believes Sarah betrayed her. She still believes she was justified. And that's perhaps the most terrifying thing about this entire story. Maya Rodriguez isn't sorry. She's just sorry she got caught. The bigger picture. Sarah Chen's murder wasn't just a tragedy. It was a warning. A warning about the people we let into our lives. About the difference between love and obsession. About how manipulation can be so gradual, so subtle, that we don't recognize it until it's too late. Dr. Patricia Wells, forensic psychologist, what Maya Rodriguez did to Sarah Chen is called coercive control. It's a pattern of behavior designed to make someone completely dependent on their abuser. It usually happens gradually, over months or years. Interviewer, how does someone protect themselves from this kind of manipulation? Dr. Wells, the hardest part is that coercive controllers often target people's best qualities, their empathy, their loyalty, their desire to help others. They make themselves seem vulnerable, needy, grateful. They make their victims feel special for saving them. Dr. Wells, Sarah Chen was a good person. She saw a girl who needed help and she helped her. Her parents were good people. They opened their home to a child in need. That goodness, that kindness, that's what Maya exploited. Interviewer, so what's the lesson here? Don't trust people. Don't help those in need. Dr. Wells, no. The lesson is to pay attention to your instincts. If someone is isolating you from your friends and family, if they are making decisions for you without your input, if they are monitoring your communications or your finances, those are red flags. Trust matters, but verify. Love shouldn't require you to give up your autonomy. Sarah's story has become part of the curriculum at several high schools and colleges. Students learn about recognizing manipulation, about healthy versus unhealthy relationships, about the warning signs of coercive control. Jessica Martinez speaks at these schools sometimes. She tells Sarah's story, but she also tells students about the phone call, about how she was Sarah's last hope, and how she almost failed her friend by not taking the danger seriously enough. Jessica, speaking to students, if someone you care about tells you they're scared, believe them. If they say someone is controlling them, listen. Don't wait until morning. Don't assume they're overreacting. Don't assume someone who seems nice couldn't be dangerous. Student, but how do you know when someone's really in danger versus just being dramatic? Jessica, you are on the side of caution. Because the cost of being wrong is everything. Sarah's legacy. There's a scholarship now. The Sarah Chen Memorial Scholarship for students pursuing degrees in psychology or criminal justice. It's funded by donations from people who heard Sarah's story and wanted to do something, anything, to make sure other young women don't suffer the same fate. Every year, the scholarship committee receives hundreds of applications. Students write essays about justice, about recognizing abuse, about standing up for those who can't stand up for themselves. This year's winner was a girl named Maria Santos. She wrote about her own experience with a controlling boyfriend, and how learning about Sarah's story gave her the courage to get help and get out. Maria, reading from her essay, Sarah Chen never got the chance to go to Stanford. She never got to become whatever she was meant to become. But her story saved my life. And maybe, through this scholarship, through the work I plan to do as a victim advocate, her story will save other lives too. Sarah would be 21 now. She would be graduating from Stanford this spring. She would be planning her future, maybe graduate school, maybe a career in music or medicine or law. Instead, she's a cautionary tale, a name on a scholarship, a reminder that evil doesn't always look like what we expect. Sometimes evil looks like your best friend. But here's what Maya Rodriguez never understood, what she still doesn't understand even now. Love doesn't trap people. Love doesn't control people. Love doesn't destroy people's dreams to keep them close. Love sets people free. And maybe that's the real lesson of Sarah Chen's story. Not just how to recognize a predator, but how to recognize real love. Real love would have helped Sarah pack for Stanford. Real love would have been sad to see her go but proud of her achievements. Real love would have supported her dreams, even if it meant being apart. Real love would have let Sarah live. Before we end this story, I want to say something to anyone listening who might see themselves in Sarah's situation. If someone in your life is isolating you from your friends and family, if they are making decisions about your future without your input, if they are monitoring your communications or controlling your finances, if they are making you feel guilty for wanting independence, those are not signs of love. Those are signs of abuse. And abuse escalates. Sarah Chen was 17 years old. She was smart, talented, surrounded by people who cared about her. She had every advantage, every resource, every reason to believe she was safe. And she still didn't make it out alive. Not because she wasn't strong enough or smart enough or careful enough, but because she was dealing with someone who had been planning her destruction for years. If you're in a situation like Sarah's, please reach out for help. Tell someone you trust. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Don't wait until morning. Don't assume you can handle it alone. Because the people who love you, really love you, want you to be free more than they want you to be close. And the people who want to trap you, they'll do anything to make sure you never escape. Anything. Maya Rodriguez will likely spend the rest of her life in prison. She's appealing her conviction, still claiming innocence, still writing letters to anyone who will listen. Sarah Chen is buried in a cemetery in Oregon, 3,000 miles from the Stanford campus she'll never see. And somewhere out there, there's another Maya Rodriguez befriending another Sarah Chen, slowly, carefully, patiently weaving a web that will eventually become a trap. The question is, will we recognize the warning signs in time? Will we believe the victims when they tell us they are scared? Will we act when someone reaches out for help in the middle of the night? Sarah Chen's last words to her best friend were, "If anything happens to me." She knew she was in danger. She reached out. She asked for help. And she was ignored. Don't let that happen again. Music fades to silence. This has been the story of the girl in the freezer and the friend who knew the truth. Thank you for listening. And remember, if someone you care about is scared, believe them. It might save their life.